to live from the airport in Curitiba. Now, my time has come to an end on this trip, um, specifically today in Curitiba. And I don't know. I mean, it's, I'm glad I came and checked out the south of Brazil, but it doesn't. I will talk more about this in another video about my observations, my thoughts about the place, but like more in depth. But just to sort of talk about how this place is, I probably came at the wrong time. Winter time in the south is not very comfortable. Uh, um, yeah, I probably should have stayed the south for like maybe springtime in Brazil or winter time or something, but or summertime there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would come back because the only things that were really standout here were, in my opinion, was the infrastructure, um, how safe and clean the city was, and I kind of, I lived that life in a place where it was constantly, safe all the time, and I kind of, that may sound weird, but I don't want the comforts of being safe, 100% or whatever. It doesn't exist, but in this city, there wasn't too much to do, to be honest, and even less so when it was pouring rain, um, and cold. Usually the rain doesn't bother me. Like I can, in Rio, for example, I can find stuff to do, pretty easily, so long as it's not freezing. But the rain and being cold here really put a dampener on the trip. I think I did two vlogs maybe, um, since Monday, and I was still getting over a cold, but made the best of it. I The one thing that stands out to me, that a lot of people said that about people in the south is that they're not as they're not as receptive and they're kind of cold. I didn't find that almost at all. Some people, yes, but that's just human nature. But for the most part, like the Uber drivers were the ones that were the most talkative, especially in Porto Alegre and Florida. If you can speak Portuguese, man, they'll chat your ear off. So it was definitely there were a lot of nice people here. I can't say that there were. I had maybe one person that was kind of rude, an Uber driver, but that doesn't really make or break the trip. Um, as for things to do here, they have the usual, the malls, they have restaurants, but they're kind of scattered around the city. Excuse me. There isn't an easy way to get to them. The easiest way to travel around the city was Uber. You know, each day, each location, I Ubered it. I'm sure the bus system here is quite, uh, you know, quite good because I could see them passing by. I could see the stations and whatnot, but I just don't have the time to lose when taking the bus out because you got to stop somewhere. Um, so I took Uber, which is quicker. You get the most out of the trip. Um, welcome whoever's in the live. It's kind of a random live, but I wanted to get one in Curitiba, and I couldn't find a quiet spot where. So I waited till I got to the airport. I'm going back to Rio today, so um, yeah, Curitiba. It's if you could go anywhere in the north, or like if there's other places that you really want to see before, I would do that. I wouldn't come here right away unless you're okay with a big city. It kind of reminded me of Toronto a lot. The city, not and I don't mean just the weather. I just mean the feel and people wearing jackets, obviously because of the weather, but the layout of the city as well. Um, I don't know. I kind of it kind of reminded me about when I was in Toronto. So it's kind of strange. It's like Toronto but speaking Portuguese. I don't know how to explain it. And a little bit smaller. It wasn't as big. If anybody has any questions about Curitiba, I'm more than happy to answer. This live won't go on for too long, but yeah, no, I did enjoy it here. I don't know that I would come back so soon. I would rather go to check out some other cities. possibly the northeast. But you know, people were friendly here. I say this, if you're coming to the south of Brazil to check out anywhere in the south, do like a multiple city. Then maybe add this on your list, okay? Like if you do Porto Alegre, Curitiba, Floripa. Like if you go, I highly recommend Floripa. So if you go to Floripa, it is worth it to check out this place. Like maybe a day or two. I wouldn't do more than that, to be honest. Porto Alegre, the same thing. I wouldn't do more than like 3 days in Porto Alegre. Knowing what I know now, it was good that I did book the longer time because I had a little bit of time to recoup and then also do get some content. If I hadn't had booked the amount of days that I did, I probably wouldn't have got as much content that I wanted to get, and I wouldn't have recovered from getting a stupid cold. Um, by which I had no idea how I got it, whether it was in the plane or weather change. I had no idea. But Curitiba, it's got a like a Western Canada feel to it as well. I would say because people, you know, they seem more down to earth, I guess. And here's one big thing about people who live in South Brazil, specifically Curitiba, but Porto Alegre as well. I could put in there. They don't like karaoke, for example. They want to know everything about you. As soon as you meet someone, they're like, "Oh, what do you do? What do you, like?" I don't know about anybody's experience watching this, if that's your experience, but karaoke, they want to know too much. They're kind of like a nosy Parker. You know, they just want to know all your business. Here, no. They'll talk to you. They'll say, "Oh, where are you from?" or whatever. You know, the usual banter that people do when they don't know where you're from or if they want to or they don't know you. But here they are very what's the best way? They have more manners here. Let's put it that way. They're more educated here in the south. Um, it appears to me a little bit less stress, if that makes sense, than karaoke. Like any little thing here, it doesn't seem like they're going to explode. Um, you know, even driving. The driving out here, people are really, really relaxed. You know, crosswalks. Nobody's in a hurry to go right through the light or whatever. You know, I didn't find any of that. I felt it a little bit more calmer atmosphere. Maybe because there's less stress here, because people are employed. Um, Curitiba is one of the most livable cities on the index on the world. I think it's the world index. I can't remember the name. It's number 10 on the list when it comes to Brazilian cities. I think it's definitely top 10. I don't remember the number, but it's yeah. I don't know. People seem to be more way less stressed here, man. But yeah, I would suggest checking this place out, but don't do more than that, and try to do it in a whole southern Brazil region. Like do multiple cities. Don't just come here. Like that's the only reason I came here to be honest, because I was going to Floripa, Porto Alegre, Camboriú, Balneário Camboriú, and then this was my last destination. I wanted to add one more city, but it would have been crunch time. Wouldn't have been worth it because it's just you know doing content and then trying to enjoy where you're at. It doesn't make sense. Okay, how many have we gotten here? 4 people. It's okay. It's it's a Friday and it's probably early wherever you guys are. Here it's 5:30, so it's probably like an hour or two behind. People are still working, but yeah, Curitiba, like I mentioned, I probably wouldn't come back for a long time, and if I did, it's going to be the summertime because I just can't deal with this cold crap, you know. And then the rain, rainy season, it's terrible. So things to do. I want to come back to that. You, there are a lot of restaurants, a lot of cafes everywhere, um, good barbecue places. The malls are, if you like malls, they're decent. Um, there's a few, there's a lot of nature places around too. There's like a bunch of parks. There's one that I just visited today, um, the botanical garden, which was it was cool. It was really windy, but it's worth checking out. I mean, it's a lot of people go there and take Instagram photos and all kinds of crap. So it's kind of, that part of it's kind of annoying because people were everywhere blocking the way. But I will have a video vlog about me going to that destination. They have this place called Bosch de Alamo, which is German metal, I think it's called, translated. Unfortunately, it's closed, but it looks really cool. Like it was, I, I don't know how I could compare it to another park, but it had like a witches themed house. It had like the nature was there, so you can definitely find parks like that, similar to the one that they have in São Paulo, Ibirapuera Park. But that one's massive. I can't wait to go to São Paulo eventually. So, um, so Curitiba, yeah, I don't know. The apartment I had was nice. They're not very well insulated, so I was freezing my butt off uh, because of that. Good thing they had a lot of blankets. Um, I don't know what else but there's not like that's the problem. There's not a lot of stuff really to do here, and it's I came at a bad time where if you want to go and explore the city, you better have an umbrella or you better have be dressed warm enough. I'm glad I brought some warm clothes. Otherwise, I would have been screwed. I would have had to buy some. Oh, another place I went to check out, which if you're a museum person or a historical person, like you like history and things like that, there's two places. So for art wise, there's a Oscar Niemeyer museum, which looks like a gigantic eye. I think that was his intention. Uh, it's worth checking out. I didn't go into the museum because I didn't have the time to sort of walk around and just keep checking places out. Uh, I had to just go from one point to another. But I'll have that as part of my last vlog in Curitiba, so you'll be able to check that out. Um, the other place was the historical center. I really found impressive. I'm a history buff, so for me, I really enjoyed checking out the center of the city. Um, it was really worth it. I'm glad I did a vlog in the rain there. I don't have my camera obviously, so I took pictures on the phone as well. But um, if you're a historical buff and you like checking out old churches and old squares and things like that, this city does have that. I mean, you can walk you can walk around and just look at all the different old architecture from the colonial days. The city is about 330 years old, so there's quite a bit of history there. While I was walking around today, since the weather was better, I also ran into there's this one street, I think it's 4th of November Street, and they've got like shops and things like that. It kind of reminds me of oh god, when I was in Porto Alegre, there was this same kind of street that had shops, exactly the same thing, shops, stores, and it was all closed off. No cars could pass through. So um, that's worth checking out. It was pretty busy today because I guess everyone was sick of being cooped up inside from all the rain. They had a close by as I discovered, and I got it on film. They had a winter fair, which had all kinds of like goodies. For example, I had this drink. They have this drink called Quentão, which is translated as a big hop. Okay, and what it was is it's like grape juice or wine. You're gonna think it's weird with melted marshmallow on top. Yeah, I mean I tried it out and it was way too sweet for me, and I had the non-alcoholic one, but it was weird, and I couldn't figure out who invented that. Melted marshmallow on top of like a really hot wine, like a warm wine. So that was bizarre. But I had a couple of people come up to me. They could hear me doing my vlog and ask me where I was from. So people are curious to know, when you're foreign, where you're from. Uh, what else did this winter fair had? All kinds of food, like barbecue. You'll see in one of my vlogs. I decided to do it. It was pretty cool. I'm glad I found it randomly. So I was going from one stop to the next. So I'm glad I ran into that place. Six of you in the chat. I appreciate that you're here. If you have any questions about Curitiba, by all means. Oh, one other place I wanted to check out that I wasn't able to go to. There was this restaurant that they have on the like really high up in this building. and it has like a panoramic view. I forget the name of the restaurant off the top of my head, but that would have been worth going to do to see the entire city. Um, there's not too many places you can go. Like Rio, I don't think has any restaurants like that where you can see a panoramic view as the cities. The cities are structured differently, right? Curitiba kind of also reminds me of like São Paulo, but smaller and cleaner, safer, more organized. So there's that same accent almost. I know that sounds bad, but it could be. It sounds to me it sounds the same. I'm not going to do too long of a live here. I don't even know what time it is. I'm just waiting to board here. But yeah, I won't talk ill about Curitiba, but I won't say it's like my favorite place that I've been to. Um, it, it would probably be my least favorite on this trip, but I don't dislike it, if that makes any sense. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't spectacular. Um, if I had known, I would have, and the weather was better. I would say it's like a couple day trip only. I wouldn't do long period of time. Um, they also have a very strong Polish community here. Um, I was reading like a plaque or whatever. A lot of immigrants from Poland. I think it's the second most populous city of Polish immigrants next to Chicago. So that was really interesting. I don't. I guess it was in search of a new life, like many immigrants do, over the history of humanity. Um, yeah, that I didn't really, I didn't really find anything that was kind of unique to Curitiba, other than it's very European-esque. Um, yeah, I don't know how people can deal with the cold weather when they don't have heaters. They don't have a lot of the apartments obviously don't have fireplaces. But someone was telling me like a lot of the older houses have like old style fireplaces which keep them cool. And this isn't even as cold as it can get. It can get colder. So yeah, I don't, again, I don't know if I'll return to Curitiba. Let's talk about women, I guess, or if you were to date here. Um, I would say predominantly the city is white, or based on, I guess, the European settlers that came here, like Germans, Polish, Italians. You see a lot of it in their face. Um, so yeah, if you're looking for a mixed girl or whatever, it's very, very rare here that you'll meet one. But there are some, obviously. It's just the way it is. But yeah, this is. I would say this city is like 60% white people. So yeah, there's that. Um, I didn't bother, obviously, because I'm in a relationship right now, but um, I don't know how the dating apps would be here. For some of you who are curious to know about dating here, I'm sure they all work here. All the apps work, but I don't know if the mentality is different of women here. I didn't get the feeling that they're not open minded, so it's kind of hard to tell. But if any of you guys have been to Curitiba, write in the comments if you ever dated somebody from here, or if you attempted to go out with someone here. I'll be curious to know how people are when it comes to dating a foreigner in this part of the country, in this part of the Brazil. Um, People were always very, very interested to know where I was from. That's for sure. Like when I say Canada, oh wow, okay, So what else can I say about Curitiba? Um, it's pretty spread out. Uh, I don't know. It's just it's just a very basic, simple city. I like the history. I like the people are pretty friendly. Okay. I know what I'm talking about. There were homeless people here. I didn't find it as bad as Porto Alegre. Nowhere near as bad as Rio or São Paulo. Uh, it's a relatively safe city. I didn't. I was walking around with my phone. I use it sometimes. Obviously, you don't want to like let your guard down totally, but I didn't. I didn't find the city hardly at all that dangerous. Really, at all dangerous, to be honest. Um, Homelessness, yes, there was. There's a lot of them had a mental illness. It seems. Um, One thing I can say is you could be a little bit more trusting here because I checked out my Airbnb and then I had still the whole rest of the day, which that's a topic for another day. I hate that you have the whole day and then and anyway. and I had nowhere to leave my one bag, my carry-on bag. So there's a hotel that was across the street from where my Airbnb was, and I had spoken to them 2 days prior, and I just said, "Hey, how much do you guys charge to store one luggage here until I pick it, for a few hours?" And they were really cool. They're like, "No, just leave it here, and it's fine. Don't worry about it." And I wasn't even staying there, so you would hardly get that in Rio. I mean, in Rio, you'd have to pay, and it depends on the place you go to. But if it's a fancy hotel, likely it's okay. But generally, if you're not a guest at this place, there's no chance. There's no chance you could really leave your stuff. I would have been screwed. Um, I don't know what I would have done. I would have had to lug this stuff and then go shoot content with a lug. I don't know. So I was very, very grateful for that. Yeah, I find people are pretty honest here. Um, there's one thing I will say. It's the same when it comes to when you're walking on the sidewalk. They don't get out of the way. So I think that's got to be a Brazilian thing. I don't know. Every single city I go to, I'm going to pay attention to that. Yeah, I don't know what else I can think about. Well, I had a list here, but I already spoke to all about everything. You can see it's not that diverse of activities in Curitiba. That's why I say if you're going to come here, just come for a few days. Let me see if I have one other thing I can talk about. Oh, cost of items here. I would say it's much cheaper than Rio. Food, I would say it's like 20% cheaper. Like going to the grocery store or whatever, 20% cheaper here. I don't know if that's because they get a lot of their stuff close by. I have no idea. If you guys know, let me know. But in comparison to Rio and Sao Paulo, much cheaper, much more cheaper, like cost of food and things like that. Yeah, I don't know. There's not much else I can say about Curitiba. I guess I'd have to do more in-depth video, um, like a observations video or things like that. I have a list that I'm going to do that video with. But if any of you have any questions, here's the time. I'm only gonna stay on for another like 5 minutes or so. I think we're gonna start boarding really soon. Um, yeah, the flight from here to Rio is about an hour and 10 minutes, so it's really not that long. It's not far away. Flight is about just under 100 US dollars. I think it's like 80 US dollars, something like that. So it's a reasonable price for a flight that distance. Um, so if you're going to travel around the south, pass by here, check it out, and come when the weather's good. Don't do what I did. Uh, what else can I say? Traffic is not that bad here. Like driving around the city, it's not terrible. Um, yeah. What else can I say? If anybody has any questions, go for it. Otherwise, I'm gonna end it real soon. I just like to do lives whenever I'm in a new place. Um, yeah, it's a place I don't think I would move to. I mean, if I liked the cold and I didn't mind not having a beach because there's no beaches. This is a city like smack dab in the middle of almost in the middle of the state, kind of to the right, but it's not. They don't have beaches very close by. It's like I think an hour and a half drive to get to a beach on the Atlantic Ocean side. Um, yeah, I don't. It's not a place I would want to live. It would be. It's a good place to raise a family. I'll give you that. If you could find a good job here, you could probably find a good apartment. If you're okay with the cold and not much to do, you could raise a family here, no problem. It's the same. I would say it's like Floripa. Raising a family would be it's a good place to raise a family. But Floripa for me takes the cake of all these cities that I went on this trip. I would probably move to Floripa, even though it gets a little bit chilly. But they've got like the beaches. When summertime comes or springtime comes, there's so many choice of beaches. But Curitiba, it's kind of lacking. I mean, I would really miss a good beach. Something to just sort of relax on. Um, and I don't know, Curitiba is smaller than Belo Horizonte, so they don't even really have the phrase for Belo is like no ma, sem mar, tem bar. It's like no ocean, but it has its bars. Here, I don't know. I mean, it's it's a kind of, yeah, like a really small city. Not so small where you can't find things, but just, you know, I don't know. One last thing I will add that I checked out on my vlog was a place called Rua 24 Horas, which is like 24-hour street. It's not really a street, it's kind of like a enclosed like esplanade where you can walk through, and there's like bars, restaurants, and things. But I was asking somebody there, and they said a lot of them closed because of the pandemic, so they really didn't have a lot of choice there. It was cool um, for the like touristy kind of thing to check it out, but it's not even open 24 hours anymore. But it used to be way back when literally you find something that any hour of the day, you know. So they said it only runs from 9 a.m. until I think 10 or 11 p.m. Because they were having problems with like homeless people coming in off the street or drug dealing going on. Yeah, even in Curitiba that happens, but they say it's rare, but it was happening, and they don't want to spend the extra money on security, and they don't want the hassle. So that changed too. It's cool to check out. It could be a place to go if like it was pouring rain. Like I would have went there had I discovered much sooner, because they had a pretty good coffee place there, and they had a couple of restaurants and things like that. So it would have been something to check out. Well, if nobody has any questions, the remainder of the people that are in here, I'm gonna end this at the 27 mark. But thank you for joining me. I'm glad whoever you are that came in here, thanks for joining. Um, yeah, maybe check out maybe for one day. Oh, Charlie Jones, what's up? How you doing, man? Everything good? You haven't been to Curitiba, I'm guessing. Just got here. Yeah, that's how you got here. And I'm going to be leaving soon. But if you have any questions about Curitiba, by all means, go ahead. I don't mind. I may have answered it already, but I can answer it again. It's all good. Uh, just give you guys a look at how many people are waiting to go to Rio. Weather's not that much better in Rio, by the way. Apparently, it's going to be raining for the next like 4 or 5 days, but at least it's like, what, 65 degrees Fahrenheit, so I can deal with that. You haven't been okay. You haven't been here yet. Would you come to the south of Brazil? I would, if you don't like cold weather, because I know you live in southern U.S. Come in like spring, summertime here. Don't come when I came. It's not that polite. It's not that great. I won't say it's not worth checking out because I don't like to shit on any cities. It's not a terrible city. It's just not what I would be looking for in a trip. Like it would have been for me. It's like 2 days tops, and you can see everything in 2 days. Like if I go to São Paulo, for example, I would probably have to stay there if I wanted to get good content and just check everything out. I'd have to stay there like 1 week. We have an unexpected guest in the baby here. Starts crying and ending it quickly. I will end it at the 30-minute mark, guys. Um, but as always, thank you. And if you have any questions, if you're watching this after the fact, put them in below, and I will do my best to respond about Curitiba. Um, compare it to a city in the U.S. or Canada. Yeah, I talked a bit about that. It reminded me a bit like Toronto, but smaller, um, weather-wise and things like that. There's not a ton of things to do really. Like there's more culture here than in probably my city and probably in many of the other U.S. cities. Like, and what I mean that is like more history, because the city, it's got the old colonial churches. Not to say U.S. doesn't have that, because they do definitely have that, like the old English towns and stuff. And I would say it compares to that. It's not really a It's not a beach town. It's not a place you want to come just like relax. There's nature and there's parks and things like that, but it's a little bit city. It's a place you want to have a family or something like that. That's all I can say about it. I would compare it to an American city that I went to. Who I've been to, let's say, the, yeah, no, I was still, I can't really compare it to any of the U.S. cities. It does look a lot like Chicago, has that sort of feel. It's very windy, um, very, very windy. They call it the London of Brazil because it rains a lot here and it's cloudy a lot, and I don't like that. That's where I was in Toronto. Gloomy days are done for me. Like today, it's already dark here, but it was cloudy. Like it was mixed with sun and cloud, but then it got really gloomy and it looked like it was going to pour rain, and it was pretty chilly, like 50 something Fahrenheit. Not that great. So, like I was saying, anybody have any questions, you can just leave them in the comments below, and I will get back to you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in someplace in the state of Rio, or God knows where I'm going to go. I'm going to plan more trips around Brazil. I don't know if I'm going back to Canada, so that'll be for another topic. So that's it from Curitiba. Yeah, yeah, it's like Seattle, I would say. So yeah, that's it from Curitiba. Take care, guys. Watch from the beginning if you didn't catch the whole live. I threw a lot of information about Curitiba. So take care, guys, and thanks for watching. Always.